The Grand Peace Summit was held on the floating city of Zenthra, where the brightest stars of diplomacy came to speak. The room was massive, shining with gold lights and glass walls that showed space beyond. Ambassadors from 50 different species sat around a glowing table. Among them was Lady Virexa, the proud, tall alien diplomat from the Valari Empire. She stood, her long purple robe flowing behind her like smoke. Her silver eyes scanned the crowd with sharp confidence. She was known for being cold, powerful, and completely arrogant. "Let us be honest," she said, her voice calm but cutting. "Humans are weak. They breed without purpose. Their bodies are soft, their minds slower, and above all, they are infertile compared to us. They don't even have a mating cycle." Gasps filled the room. Some alien delegates laughed quietly. A few humans clenched their fists. Others turned red with anger. But one human did move at all. His name was Jack Monroe. He sat still in his black suit, watching her like a scientist watches a strange creature. His brown eyes didn't blink. His face was calm, but a tiny smirk played at the corner of his lips. Virexa noticed him. She smiled coldly. "Do you disagree, human?" she asked him directly. Jack slowly stood up. He wasn't tall or strong-looking, just average, quiet, but the way he stood, calm, straight, made her pause. "Disagree," Jack said, voice low. "No. Why would I? I thank you for your honesty, Lady Virexa." Everyone turned to look at him. His words were polite, but something about the way he said them made the air heavy. Virexa nodded, pleased with herself, and sat back down. She thought it was over, but Jack had already started something she couldn't see. Later that night, the stars over Zenthra glowed softly, and the air carried the hum of the city. Diplomats returned to their private chambers. Drinks were served. Deals were whispered, and Jack Monroe sent an invitation to Lady Virexa's private suite. "One drink, just the two of us. No politics." Virexa stared at the message. At first, she laughed. "A human wants to share a drink with me," she thought. How bold, how foolish. She accepted. Jack arrived wearing a clean white shirt, simple and casual. Virexa opened the door herself, wearing a thin silver dress that shimmered in the low light. "Is this some human custom?" she asked with a smile. "To flirt with the one who insulted you?" Jack walked in calmly. "No, this is something else." They sat, they drank. The room was quiet except for the sound of clinking glasses. The conversation started cold, but slowly turned warmer. Virexa was surprised by Jack's calmness. He didn't argue. He didn't flatter. He just listened and spoke when needed. "You really believe we're infertile?" Jack asked, his tone light. "It's just biology," she said, sipping her drink. "You have no cycles. You breed by chance. We breed by choice." Jack leaned back. "Strange. I thought nature liked surprises." She raised an eyebrow. "What surprises could humans offer?" He smiled again. "I guess we'll find out." Her eyes narrowed slightly, but there was curiosity in them now. Not anger, and when he leaned in slightly, not as a man flirting, but as a man testing the ground. She didn't pull away. Instead, she whispered, "Are all human males so confident?" Jack shrugged. "Only the dangerous ones." She laughed softly. The sound rare from someone like her. That night, something happened that should not have happened, between two diplomats from different species. Not between enemies dressed as allies, but it did, and it was just the beginning. The next morning, Jack walked alone through the garden decks of Zenthra. He stopped by a glass wall and looked out at the stars. A small smile played on his lips to the world. He was still the calm, quiet human envoy. But inside, he was satisfied. He had made his move not out of desire, but out of purpose. What Virexa had done to humanity was not forgotten. Her words would echo through history, but soon. So would his answer, not through speeches, not through war, but through something far more personal and somewhere in the city. Lady Virexa stared at her reflection in silence. For the first time in years, she didn't feel fully in control. She didn't know why, but something had changed, and it terrified her more than she could say. Lady Virexa had always been in control. In politics, in war, in conversation, her voice ruled, and others listened. She walked like she owned every room she entered. Her silver eyes had made leaders tremble. No one dared to question her authority. But now, something had shifted. She found herself standing alone in her chamber, staring out the window at the stars of Zenthra, feeling something she didn't recognize. Doubt. Why did I let him touch me? She asked herself again. Her memories of the night with Jack Monroe came in flashes. His calm voice, his steady gaze. The way he never begged, never flinched. She had expected weakness. What she found was something else, a quiet fire. Not loud, not arrogant like most human males, but dangerous in its own way. And now she couldn't stop thinking about him. This is nothing, she told herself. It's just a one-time error. A distraction. But deep inside, she knew it was the beginning of something she didn't understand. Jack Monroe walked through the docking bays of Zenthra the next morning, sipping from a cup of bitter alien coffee. He passed by diplomats and traders, all busy in their own worlds. But Jack was focused. His plan had started. This wasn't just about payback. It was about sending a message not to Virexa, but to the entire Valari Empire. They called humans weak, inferior, useless, he would show them. Otherwise, and it would begin by cracking the one they thought was unbreakable, Lady Virexa. Later that evening, a message came to Virexa's personal comm. There's a small cafe on Deck 9. Quiet, out of sight. If you want another drink, I'll be there at midnight. Jack Virexa stared at the message. She should have deleted it. She should have ignored it. Instead, she stood before her mirror, brushing her long hair and fixing her sharp black uniform twice. This is ridiculous, she told herself. I'm not meeting him. I'm above this. But when midnight came, she was already walking toward Deck 9. The cafe was nearly empty. Soft yellow lights filled the corners, and soft alien music played in the background. Jack sat alone, a small cup in front of him. He looked up as she walked in and simply nodded. No smile, no flirtation. Just, "You didn't think I'd come," Virexa said as she sat across from him. "I hoped," Jack replied. "And why's that?" she asked. He leaned forward. "Because I want to understand you." That made her laugh. "Understand me? You're just a human." Jack didn't blink. "Exactly. The one species you believe doesn't matter." She stopped smiling. There was a long silence. "You're playing with danger," she said coldly. "I'm counting on it," Jack answered. Virexa looked at him differently now. She had thought him to be a fool. But this man was playing a game at her level, not with strength, not with threats, with patience, and worse, with confidence. Over the next few days, they met again. And again, always in secret, always late. Drinks turned to dinners. Dinners turned to private walks through the glass tunnels of the space city. They spoke about politics, about war, about life, and slowly, something strange began to happen. Virexa started to open up. She talked about the pressure on her back home, how the Valari elders expected her to be perfect, untouchable, superior. How she was never allowed to be vulnerable, never allowed to feel. Jack listened, always listening. He never judged her, and for a woman who had ruled through fear, being listened to was a strange kind of power. One night, she asked, "Are you using me, human?" Jack looked her in the eyes. Are you using me? She paused. Maybe. Then we're even, he said. That night, they didn't meet in a restaurant or a cafe. They met behind locked doors, but this time, it wasn't about revenge. Not entirely. The next morning, Virexa stood alone in the shower, her hands on the wall. Water running over her back. She felt strange. Not sick. Not tired, but changed. Her heart beat faster. Her breath felt shorter. Her thoughts drifted toward Jack more than they should. This is not like me, she whispered. But no matter how hard she tried to brush it off, the truth kept tapping at the back of her mind like a warning. She was starting to care, and caring was dangerous. Jack sat in his room, writing quietly into his personal log. She's cracking. Not like I expected, but it's working. I came here for revenge, for justice. But now I don't know where this is going. She's not just a monster anymore. She's complicated. He closed the log and stared out into space. The stars looked calm tonight, but he knew better. The storm was only just beginning. Lady Virexa never woke up late. Her mornings were always precise up at sunrise. Meditation for balance, then meetings, reports, and more meetings. But today, her eyes opened late, and her body felt ... different. She sat up slowly, blinking at the ceiling of her luxury suite in Zenthra. The light felt too bright. Her head buzzed softly. Her skin tingled. Her senses, normally sharp as a sword, felt off. She touched her stomach without thinking. A strange warmth pulsed beneath her hand. Virexa frowned. Computer, she ordered. Scan for toxins. The machine hummed, ran diagnostics, and beeped. No toxins detected. All vital signs normal. She stood up and looked at herself in the mirror. Her silver eyes, once cold and perfect, now seemed tired. This is nothing, she thought. Just a bad night. But the feeling didn't go away. It got stronger. By the third day, Virexa had lost her appetite. Her guards brought her food, but everything tasted wrong. She snapped at her staff, growled at her assistant, and locked her chamber doors. Her body was changing and she didn't know why. Her people were growing concerned. The Valari, High Council, demanded updates. The elders asked why their most powerful diplomat was missing meetings. I need rest, she told them through her comm. Zenthra's gravity fields must be affecting my body. It was a lie, a terrible one, and she knew it. Meanwhile, Jack Monroe was in the city gardens, feeding fish at the blue water ponds. His face looked calm, but inside, he was waiting for the moment when Virexa would finally break her. Silence. He knew something had shifted. She hadn't contacted him in 3 days, and that meant one thing. His plan was working. Virexa paced in her room that night, hands shaking. She had run every test: physical scans, neural scans, even blood analysis. And yet, nothing explained what she was feeling, except one tiny anomaly. A strange cell group was found inside her body. It wasn't hers. It wasn't VLR. It was ... foreign, but alive. Her eyes went wide with shock. No, she whispered. She ran more scans, faster, deeper. Her computer lit up with blinking red symbols. Genetic anomaly detected. Cell growth consistent with early-stage hybrid gestation. Her legs gave out. She sat on the cold floor. Breath shallow. Impossible. ... VLARI. Weren't supposed to be genetically compatible with humans. This shouldn't be happening. But it was. She was pregnant. That night, Jack received a secure message. It was only 3 words. We need to talk. Jack arrived at her chamber in silence. No guards. No cameras. Just her. Virexa stood near the window, arms crossed, staring out at the stars. "You knew," she said, voice cold. Jack didn't answer right away. "You planned this," she continued. "Ah, you did something to me." Jack finally spoke. "I didn't force you." She turned sharply. "You tricked me." "I treated you with respect," he said calmly. That was enough. She took a step toward him, face pale with fury. "I am carrying something inside me. Something that's not fully mine. Do you understand what that means? What they'll do to me when they find out?" He nodded. "They'll call it a disgrace," she hissed. "A weakness, a contamination of our bloodline." Jack's voice stayed calm. "Then don't let them find out." She froze. He walked closer. "You're one of the most powerful diplomats in the galaxy, Viraxa. You control what the world sees. You can spin this, make it something new, something bigger than revenge." She stared at him. Tears touched the corners of her eyes, but didn't fall. "I was proud," she whispered. "I ruled through fear. And now I'm just scared." Jack said nothing. Instead, he stepped close and placed a gentle hand on her arm. "I didn't do this to hurt you," he said softly. "I did this to show you that humans are not weak. We're not toys. We're not your tools. We're real. And now, so is this." He glanced toward her stomach. She looked down. Her hand moved slowly and rested over the warmth growing inside. Heartbeat, tiny, fragile, but real. She didn't speak for a long time. Finally, she whispered, "What do we do now?" Jack smiled sadly. "We survive." Far above Zenthra, aboard a silent Valari warship, a spy drone finished its recording. It had watched everything, heard everything, and now it transmitted the footage back to the Valari homeworld. Within hours, the entire council would know. The strongest, proudest woman in the Empire had fallen for a human, and she was carrying his child. The Valari High Council chamber was cold and silent. 12 ancient beings sat in a circle, draped in robes of silver and black. Each face was carved with judgment, each gaze sharp as a blade. A floating screen showed the footage Lady Viraxa with the human. The late-night meetings, the closeness, the touch, and finally, the scan of her body. Confirmed hybrid pregnancy. Not a single word was spoken for several seconds. Then, one elder broke the silence. "She has brought shame to our blood." Another added, "The humans will laugh. They will say, we are weak." A third slammed his fist. "Remove her from the council. Strip her of title. She is no longer Valari." They voted. One by one. 12 lights turned red, and the message was sent to Zenthra. "Lady Viraxa, by order of the High Council, you are recalled. You will stand trial for treason of the bloodline." Down on Zenthra, Viraxa stood frozen, the words on her communicator echoing in her ears. Her fingers trembled. Her breath caught in her throat. The message was clear. She wasn't just being recalled, she was being erased. Her entire life, she had climbed to the top. She had silenced critics, crushed rivals, ruled with pride and fear. Now, all of it was crashing down because of one human, because of one mistake. Jack Monroe found her alone on the observation deck, staring out at the stars with empty eyes. She didn't speak when he walked in, but he could feel the tension, the pain in her silence. He stepped beside her. "They know," she finally said. Her voice low. Jack didn't ask how. He already guessed. "They want me back on Valari," she continued. But I know what that means. I will never return. I will disappear. The child, too." Jack's jaw clenched. "Then we won't let that happen." She turned sharply to him. He nodded. "I won't let them take you." Her eyes flashed. "Do you even understand what you're saying, human? If you stand with me now, they will hunt you. They will mark you. You will be an enemy of the Empire. Jack didn't blink. Let them. Virexa laughed bitterly. You're insane. No, Jack replied. Just human. She stared at him, truly stared. For once, no pride in her eyes. No walls, only a woman, alone, afraid, and holding a secret too dangerous to live. And yet, somehow, he was still here, still standing beside her. Even now, even after everything, that terrified her more than the council's judgment. The next day, Virexa was called to a private meeting with Zenthra's chief medical director, a multi-eyed alien named Dr. Rezel. He had seen the reports, the scans, and he had one question. Is it true? Virexa didn't answer. Dr. Rezel looked at her gently. The child, it's alive, growing, but it is different from anything we've seen. You are the first Valari to ever carry a cross-species fetus. You must understand. The entire galaxy will want to study you, or worse, use you. She looked away. I don't care what they want. But what do you want, Lady Virexa? She hesitated then. For the first time in her life, she said the truth. I don't know. That night, Virexa received another message. But this one wasn't from the council. It was anonymous. No name. No seal, just for words. They are coming tonight. She stared at the message, her blood going cold. Was it a warning? Or a threat? Either way, she couldn't take the risk. She activated her emergency protocol and sent a silent beacon to Jack. Jack received the signal while dining in a low-gravity bar near the city's core. As soon as he saw the code VX-13 alert, he jumped to his feet, no questions, no hesitation. He ran back at her chambers. Virexa sealed the doors and activated defense drones. Her eyes scanned every corner, every shadow. She heard a click, too late. The ceiling vent dropped and a tall figure in black armor landed silently. A Valari assassin. The eyes behind the helmet glowed red, without a word. The figure raised a blade. Virexa backed away, her hand going to her sidearm, but the assassin was faster. The blade swung and clanged against a blast shield. Jack Monroe had arrived. He fired twice, one shot to distract, one shot to disable. The assassin fell, his arm smoking from a direct hit. Jack rushed to Virex's side. You good? He asked, breathless. She nodded, eyes wide with shock. How did you get here so fast? He smirked. You're not the only one with tricks. She looked at him, covered in dust, breathing hard, weapon still warm. And in that moment, she realized something terrifying. She didn't just need him anymore, she trusted him. Outside, another message went out into space. Target failed. Human interference confirmed. Proceed with next protocol. Far away, aboard a hidden Valari command ship, a new order was given. Capture the hybrid. Terminate the mother if necessary. And deep inside Virex's body, the heartbeat of the child grew stronger. The galaxy had no idea what was coming. Lady Virexa had always carried herself like royalty. Wherever she walked, silence followed. Where she spoke, others listened. She was not just a diplomat. She was a symbol of Valari pride. Cold, perfect, untouchable. But now she was a pregnant fugitive, hiding in the shadows of Zenthra City with a human by her side. And the whole galaxy was laughing behind her back. News had spread fast and brutal. Whispers echoed in political chambers. Did you hear? The mighty Virexa, with a human. She's carrying his child. Disgusting. A joke. The High Council had stripped her of all titles. Her name was erased from official records. Her private guards recalled. Her ship locked. Her face deleted from the Valari diplomatic registry. She wasn't just cast out. She was erased, and it burned inside her like fire. Jack Monroe watched from across the small, hidden safe house they had taken shelter in. He knew that look on her face, Virexa. Sat in silence, her hands gripping the edge of the table, her breathing sharp, her jaw tight. She wasn't crying. She wasn't shaking. She was boiling. "What's going on inside your head?" Jack asked softly. She didn't answer. He tried again. "Talk to me." Finally, she whispered, "They want to break me." He nodded. "They think they already have." Her head lifted slowly, eyes glowing with something new, not fear, not sadness, but wrath. "They took my name," she said, "my power. My people, they think this child is a curse. They think I'm weak because of it." Jack stepped closer, speaking carefully. "You're not weak." She looked up at him, voice firm. "Then prove it. Help me make them regret everything." 3 hours later, Virexa and Jack stood in a black market tech den hidden in the underlevels of Zenthra. Sparks flew as alien engineers worked on illegal transmitters and stealth gear. Virexa spoke to an old alien with robotic eyes. "I need to send a broadcast." The alien nodded. "Private or public?" She smiled darkly. "Galactic-wide." Jack looked at her. "What are you doing?" She turned to him. "Ending their control over my story." 2 days later, across the galaxy, screens flickered in spaceports, warships, cafes, and government halls. And there she was, Lady Vi Rexa. No robes, no titles, no crown, just a simple black suit and a truth no one expected. "They say I have betrayed my blood, that I am weak, that I carry shame inside me. They're right. I carry something inside me, but it is not shame. It is hope. The child I carry is the future of what our galaxy could become, a union of strength and spirit, of reason and emotion, of Valari and human. I do not fear this future. You should." Across the stars, millions watched in shock. Some cursed her name, but others paused and wondered, back in the shadows of Zenthra. The reaction was swift. Valari assassins were sent again this time. Not just one, a whole unit. They moved through the city like shadows. But Virexa wasn't hiding anymore. She was ready in an old factory at the edge of the city. The battle began. Virexa stood in the middle of the open floor, dressed in dark armor stolen from an old mission. Jack was beside her, rifle in hand. He looked at her. "You're sure you're okay to fight?" She smirked. "I'm pregnant, not dead." The walls shook as the Valari soldiers entered. Laser fire lit the dark. Virexa moved like a storm, graceful. Deadly dodge. Jack watched in awe as she took down 2 enemies. With her bare hands, using old Valari martial techniques he had only seen in war footage. She protected her belly, Akana, but never held back. Jack covered her back, sniping the ones she couldn't see. The fight was fast, brutal, and when it was over, 10 soldiers lay unconscious and begged for mercy. Virexa stood above them, breathing hard, covered in bruises, but still standing tall. She looked down and whispered, "Tell your council, I'm not done yet." Later that night, as they sat near a small fire in the factory ruins, Jack handed her a bottle of water she drank, then leaned back against the wall. Silence stretched. Finally, she whispered, "I don't know what I'm doing anymore." Jack looked at her gently. "You're doing something no one's done before." She turned to him. "That's the scary part." He smiled. "That's the part that matters." She looked down at her stomach. A soft glow shimmered through her skin. The baby was growing fast, and for the first time, she placed her hand over it without fear. "I won't let them take you," she whispered to the child, "no matter what." Far away, deep in the Valari command ship, the council watched her message again. They stared at her eyes, her voice, her strength, and for the first time, they were afraid. not of the child, but of through the queen they had cast out, the woman who wouldn't break, the mother who refused to bow. Hidden medical lab was deep underground, far from cameras, far from cities, far from judgment. Built during the old Zenthra wars, it had become a forgotten bunker. Cold walls, faint lights, machines powered by silence. Jack walked beside Virexa as she stepped slowly through the metal corridor. Her steps were careful now, not because of fear, but because the child inside her was growing faster than anyone expected, much faster. "Are you okay?" Jack asked softly. Virexa nodded once. "The wait is unusual." She wasn't used to weakness. She wasn't used to asking for help. But carrying this child, it was changing her body, changing her mind, and she was no longer ashamed of that inside the lab. Dr. Rezel prepared the scan table. His many eyes blinked in different patterns as he spoke. "The fetus is now the size of a full-grown Valari infant," he said. "But the pregnancy has only been 42 days. Virexa lay back on the table, eyes calm but watchful. "Explain." "Doctor." Rezel began the scan. "It's evolving." Jack leaned in. "Evolving how?" The screen lit up. A small body curled in the womb, glowing with soft bioluminescent light. Thin skin, long fingers. Heart beating strong. But what shocked them, the child had two sets of genetic energy patterns, human and Valari, perfectly fused. Balanced, double quotes, "This is not just a hybrid," Dr. Rezel whispered. "This is something new." Stared at the screen. "What do you mean?" The doctor's voice lowered. "Your DNA shouldn't have combined. Valari reproduction is cycle-based, hormonal. Your people don't follow that logic, and yet this child is forming perfectly." He turned toward them. "It shouldn't be alive." "But it is," Virexa said sharply. The doctor nodded. "Yes, and growing stronger by the hour." Later, Jack and Virexa sat quietly in the chamber's private corner. Jack passed her a small piece of fruit, one of the few foods her body could handle. She took it slowly, eating in silence. Jack watched her. Carefully. "You're not afraid anymore, are you?" She looked up, surprised by the question, then answered, "I was never afraid for me. I was afraid of what they would do to this." Her hand gently rested on her stomach. The glow was faint now, but it never faded. A soft hum lived inside her skin. Jack reached out. Slowly, she didn't stop him. His hand touched hers, resting over the life growing between them. For a moment, they didn't speak. Then Virexa whispered, "When I was younger, they told me to never form attachments. That feelings make leaders weak." Jack nodded. "And do you still believe that?" She closed her eyes. "No. Because right now, this child is the only thing keeping me strong." Meanwhile, across the stars, strange signals began to appear. Deep space satellites picked up unique energy waves, ships detected odd readings near the Zenthra system, and several rogue scientists from neutral worlds began whispering rumors. "Child has been born or is about to be between two incompatible species. If true, this changes the laws of genetic science. Valari and human. Impossible. But if it lives, what else is possible?" Suddenly, the child was no longer a secret. It was becoming a symbol of fear, of hope, of war. Back in the lab, Dr. Rezel ran one last test. His long fingers trembled as he read the results. He turned to Virexa. "The child's brain is forming ahead of time. It's responding to stimuli, to sound, to light, even to your emotions." He showed them a graph. "When you are angry, the fetus becomes still. When you are calm, it moves. Your bond is immediate." Virexa looked down, heart racing. She had felt those movements. She thought it was normal, but now she knew it was responding to her feelings. Dr. Rezel added, "It's more than a hybrid. It's a bridge." Jack stepped forward. Between worlds. Dr. Rezel nodded. Yes, he hesitated. Some will want to protect it. Others will want to destroy it. Jack clenched his jaw. Let them try. That night, Virixa stood alone on the roof of the bunker, looking up at the stars. Wind brushed her face. The sky was full of light. She placed both hands on her belly. The child moved. Again, soft, gentle, like a whisper from within. "I don't know what you'll become," she said, "but I will fight for you." Behind her, Jack walked up slowly. "You're not alone." She turned. "I don't understand how this happened." Jack smiled. Maybe it was never about science. Then, what was it? He stepped closer. It was about truth. You and I, we were both broken, both pretending. But this child, it's not pretending. Virixa looked at him carefully. "And what about us?" she asked. Jack didn't answer at first. Then he said, softly, "We're still figuring that out." She didn't push further, but for the first time since everything began. She didn't feel like a fallen queen. She felt like a mother, a protector, and maybe, just maybe, something more. Far away, in a secret Volari military base, a final decision was made. If we can't erase the child, we must control it. Prepare. A unit. Begin Phase 2. Capture both parents alive if possible. If not, prioritize the child. The night sky above Zenthra was calm to calm. Jack Monroe noticed it first. No patrol ships. No merchant vessels. No blinking lights across the sky. It was as if the stars were holding their breath. Inside the hidden bunker, Dr. Rezel stared. At the screen, jaw tight. "Unmarked Volari warships have entered orbit," he said. "They're not broadcasting ID. No peace banners. No contact." Jack's voice dropped. "They're here for the baby." Virixa stood slowly, one hand on her belly. She had grown weaker. Her body was struggling to carry the child this long. But her eyes still burned with fire. "How long do we have?" she asked. Rezel checked. "They're deploying ground units. Now, less than an hour." Jack looked at her. "We need to leave." But Virixa shook her head. "I can't run anymore, Jack. The child is coming." He stared at her. "What?" She held her stomach and winced. Now, an emergency medical room was prepared in seconds. Lights buzzed, machines hummed. The floor shook as distant explosions rumbled above the Volari strike team was landing. Virixa lay on the table. Sweat on her forehead, eyes full of fire, and pain. Jack stood beside her, holding her hand tight. He had faced wars, monsters, assassins, but nothing terrified him like this moment. He whispered, "You're strong. You've always been strong." Virixa clenched her teeth. "Then why it feel like I'm breaking?" Jack leaned in close. "Because you're giving life, and life never comes easy." Her grip tightened, and the screams began. Above, Volari soldiers in black armor stormed the facility. Their orders were clear. Capture the child. Eliminate anyone who resists. Do not harm the fetus. They moved with perfect precision, silent, deadly, merciless. But they didn't expect resistance. Jack's contacts had warned rebel fighters in the lower levels. Old friends, smugglers. Even a few alien diplomats who believed in peace. By the time the soldiers reached the bunker door, over a dozen armed fighters stood waiting. A voice spoke through a crackling speaker. "Not every species stands with you." Then chaos. Gunfire. Smoke. Screams. The war had begun. Down below, Virixa screamed again. Blood stained the sheets. Her body shook. Dr. Rezel worked fast, robotic arms moving in perfect timing. The hybrid is in distress. He shouted, heart rate rising. Jack held her hand tighter. You can do this. Just hold on. Virexa's eyes locked onto his. Promise me. If I don't survive? No, Jack said, voice firm. You will. But if I don't, then I'll raise our child with everything you taught me. But you will survive. She closed. Her eyes, tears rolled down. Then a soft cry. A light. Sound that silenced the storm outside. The baby was born, tiny, glowing faint blue and pink-dyed, eyes closed. Breathing, soft and strong, alive, Jack stood frozen, staring at the miracle. Dr. Rezel smiled. Through tears. It's perfect. He handed the child to Virexa, who took it gently. The baby opened its eyes, silver like hers, but warm like Jack's. A child of two worlds, born from pain, born from defiance, born from truth. But there was no time to celebrate. Alarms blared. Again, the last line of defense was falling. Jack grabbed his weapon. They're coming. We need to move. Dr. Rezel nodded. There's a hidden tunnel under the bed. It leads to the old sewers. It's the only way. Virexa struggled to stand, baby in arms. Jack helped her gently. They moved fast through the tunnel, each step echoing the coming danger. Minutes later, the Valari soldiers entered the now empty room. The bed was bloodied, the child gone. The mother escaped. Their commander growled. Search the tunnels. Bring them back, dead or alive. In the old sewer tunnels, the group moved through darkness. Virex's legs were weak, her strength fading fast. The baby cried softly, sensing her pain. Jack carried them both now, but Virexa whispered, Don't stop. Don't turn back. Jack's jaw tightened. I won't. They reached the exit hatch hold, rusted. Hidden beneath a supply port on the city's edge, light shone through the cracks. Freedom. Weighted but behind them dash footsteps. Fast. Heavy. Too many. They wouldn't all escape. Virexa looked at Jack. I'll stay behind. No, you have to protect our child. I'm not leaving you. She placed a shaking hand on his face. You already saved me once. Now save us again. And then, blast, dust a scream. The tunnel caved in behind them. Virexa was gone. Jack stood outside, shaking, holding their baby and crying like he never had before. Weeks passed, the war ended before it truly began, when the galaxy found out about the child and how far the Valari Empire had gone to kill its own everything. Change. Protests, rebellions, alliances shifted, and from the ashes came hope. Jack never spoke of what happened in the tunnels. He raised the child on a quiet moon, taught them to walk, to speak, to choose, and every night he told them a story of a proud, arrogant alien queen, who fell not by force, but by love, and rose again as something greater, a mother, a fighter, a legend. And though the child never met her, they carried her strength in every step, because sometimes redemption begins where revenge ends.